Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Brocker, and I'm the founder and president of AgeWise Colorado. And we have Tanya Matthias on the line here from a little. Hi, Tanya.
Hi, Bob. Hi, everyone. Thank you.
And Barbara Boyer, who's the executive director of AgeWise Colorado, is also on. This is our first joint webinar between AgeWise Colorado and A Little Help, and we're pleased to start this process. I think we have another one scheduled next month or the month after. And so this one is our joint webinar number one, of course. So it's tax time, so we're going to talk about free help with your taxes and paid help with your taxes. And it's all based on your individual financial situation, of course. Both of these organizations provide free essential services to help Coloradans age in their own homes. And because we're both nonprofits, we always want to remind people to please make a donation if you feel compelled to do that. It could not be any easier. You can go to our website or a Little Help website. The links are right here on the screen. And if you're looking for volunteer opportunities, we both have those too. Little Help has many volunteer opportunities in several parts of the state. And almost all of theirs are hands-on with a few virtual. And in our case, that's almost all of ours are virtual. So, and then I'm going to introduce today's panelists, starting first with Eric Gonzalez, who is the Benefits in Action Manager of Financial Programs. So he manages benefits pro bono tax program and their Social Security disability program and other programs providing financial assistance to community members, and has been with Benefits in Action for over 4 years. And he's going to give us a little background on Benefits in Action. And briefly, it was founded in 2015 and provides free navigation and application assistance for Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, Connect for Health Colorado, Social Security, meal delivery, and more, including that free tax help for qualifying individuals all over the state. And then Rick Martin will be our next presenter, and I'll introduce Rick after Eric is finished. So Eric, it's all yours. So tell us more about what you do and how Benefits in Action works.
All right, my name's Eric Gonzalez. It's nice to meet you all. A little bit more about what I do is specifically I manage the pro bono tax program, pretty hands-on, everything from filing tax returns to supervising volunteers. Also manage other financial assistance programs, particularly our Social Security navigation program, where we help people apply for and obtain disability or retirement benefits. As for Benefits in Action, we do three things mainly. So the first one, like Bob said, is application assistance for many different programs that's helping people navigate the world of public benefits, government benefits, by applying for, using, and understanding those benefits better so that they can manage them. Second prong of Benefits in Action is our food delivery program. So we deliver food to homebound individuals in 4 Metro Denver counties: Adams, Arapahoe, Denver, and Jefferson County, so that they can use the food provided in those food boxes to cook meals. The third thing we do is our connectedness mental well-being program. We get our volunteer connectedness callers, we like to call them, in touch with those facing social isolation in order to help them have a connection to the community. We also have some group therapy sessions, such as a music therapy session and a peer support session. Now, I am here to talk about taxes. It's said that there are 2 things that are certain in life, and we're going to talk about the second one, taxes. So basically, what I do as part of our pro bono tax program is operate a VITA program. VITA stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. That is a program that's ultimately run by the IRS and subject to their rules and regulations, where we provide free tax help to qualifying households. The 3 general categories that you have to fall into in order to receive our free help are household income of less than $64,000 a year, or have a disability, meaning you've been deemed as disabled from Social Security or the state of Colorado, or have limited English proficiency, meaning you don't speak English very well. So within those guidelines, we can prepare most simple and some complex tax returns. So for example, we can prepare returns for folks earning Social Security income, W-2 income, most but not all self-employment income. The only main real exceptions that I can think of off the top of our head within the three main prongs are things like businesses operating at a net loss, cryptocurrency transactions, real estate income, foreign income, and a few other things. But if those are issues to you, or if you have any questions about your tax return, you're welcome to call us before scheduling an appointment. We can talk you through that process. And that being said, our site is operating by appointment only. We are doing in-person appointments to schedule people to file their taxes. So please call sooner rather than later. We are actually booked out pretty far in advance, and we want to make sure we can get you in before the deadline if you're interested in our services.
Can we get your phone number?
Yes, you may. If you'd like to call us, you can call 720-221-8354. And finally, I'd like to give you a rundown of the documents that our VITA site requires in order to be able to file taxes. It breaks down into 5 different categories. Category 1 is a valid, unexpired photo ID, so a driver's license, state identification card, or a passport, or some other photo ID that has your picture on it. We also need your Social Security card or a photocopy of your Social Security card. Special for folks who are earning Social Security income, we would need your 1099 from Social Security. That's your end of the year statement, describing the amount of Social Security you earned during the year, your Medicare premiums, if any, and taxes withheld, if any. That is different from your award letter. So I do want to clarify that we would need the 1099 and not the award letter. Proof of any other income you have, whether that's W-2s, 1099s, etc. And if you have expenses for self-employment or itemized deductions, just those expenses. And I'm seeing some questions in the chat, so let me try to answer them as quickly as I can. So thank you, Bob, for putting in my info. And are we located on the VITA site locator website? Yes, we sure are. We actually have 2 sites. We have our Lakewood site, which is off the corner of Union and Cedar. I'll give you the exact address in just a moment. And we also have a satellite site in Aurora at 1540 Boston Street, which is open on Thursdays only from 10 to 12. Our main Lakewood site is at 12157 West Cedar Drive, Suite 100, Lakewood, Colorado, 80228. And it is open by appointment only Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 8 and Saturdays from 10 to 3. All right. Does anyone have any other questions for me before I pass the microphone back to Bob, Tanya, and Rick?
I have a question, Eric.
Sure.
What languages do you work with?
Good question. We work with all different types of languages. We have an interpretation service that we can use if it is someone who is speaking a language other than English or Spanish. If it's English or Spanish, we can help them without needing to call the interpretation line.
Any other questions for Eric before we move on? I'm plugging in another nonprofit provider who basically does a lot of the same things that Benefits in Action does. So if you can't get an appointment with Benefits, and you might try this other group that I'm posting. I know they lean heavily toward the Spanish speaking population. So I'll do that. And it didn't work. So I'll try it again later. Okay. Now I'd like to introduce Rick Martin. Rick is a CPA and has a master's in accounting, and he provides tax and financial planning and has 10 years plus experience with taxes and with mutual fund companies in the Denver area. As I mentioned, a master's degree in accounting from Regis University and is a certified public accountant and holds a Series 7 and 66 SEC certification. And he's going to tell us what that means in a minute. And is a member of the for-profit Charter Financial Resources Organization and a registered Centaurus Financial. He enjoys the outdoors in Colorado and spending quality time with family and engaging in community service. So Charter Financial, Rick will tell us a little bit more about that. So Rick, please go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, I just shared my contact information if you need that in the chat. But basically, I am a CPA and I work with a team of financial advisors. So I am in an office full of SEC regulated folks, but we work with a broker dealer called Centaurus. I am a Series 7 and 66, meaning I'm a stockbroker. I can manage funds and I can also look into alternatives that are out there. But now it's tax season, so I'm busy with tax season. I have been part of the VITA program. I hosted the VITA program last year in Highlands Ranch, and I love what Benefits in Action does. They do a lot of good, and they have a lot of sources other than just taxes to work with. So I always send people their way if it makes sense to do so. I do speak Spanish, and I have dealt with other languages before. And when it comes to taxes and numbers, I just know what I need to do and help those folks out and at least communicate in a positive way of what they need to be doing. Let's see. I do paid services. I'm not a VITA program any longer. So my paid services range based on your individual return. And my fee roughly is on average around $250 to $350. It might be less, it might be more, just on how complicated the returns are. But I go beyond as far as doing rental properties, side businesses, small businesses, gigs that you have, hobbies that you might have. I deal with cryptocurrency, or if you have stock option plans, restricted stocks, whatever it might be, I can probably deal with it and help you out, and at least also manage and tax plan some things around all that. In addition to taxes and financial planning, I'm also a mortgage loan originator. I work with a mortgage broker, and we mainly focus on reverse mortgages if it makes sense for the clients. So I wear several hats, but they all make sense when it comes down to taxes, because that's what I love and do best. So I wanted to touch on a few points, educate a few things on what the tax season looks like this year. One item I would like to address is the TABOR refund. If you haven't noticed, there is a TABOR refund of $800 per individual this year. So if you're filing married joint, it's $1,600. You must be a full year resident. That practically means 6 months or more. You must file your return, and you must be at least 18 years old to get that TABOR refund. You don't have to have a tax liability to even get it. So hint, hint, secret, secret, if you have any grandkids or kids that are at least age 18 or older, and they had a W-2 maybe that they need to file, it might not make sense to file just to get a $2 refund from federal and $2 back from Colorado, but this year it might make sense because you could get that $800 TABOR refund. So I don't know if the state of Colorado likes me sharing that, but it's all out there and it's available. So another item I would like to touch on is donations. On the Colorado return, you can get a donation deduction if you can't itemize. That practically means everybody these days is taking the standard deduction because it's so high. And if that's the case and you have donations and they're $500 or more, then they start counting towards a deduction on your Colorado return. So something to think about. But maybe what you're not thinking about is on the flip side, because I'm a financial advisor, I see people making QCDs, qualified charitable donations from their IRAs. What that means is you can take from your IRA and make a donation of whatever amount you want, right? Let's say it's 5,000 or 10,000, and it'll go straight to the charity. And when you get your 1099 at the end of the year, that 1099 is going to show as taxable income coming out of your IRA, but it's going to be coded as a QCD. And you can tell your CPA that, hey, this was a QCD, please code it as a QCD. And therefore, it won't be taxable on the return. And you won't have to worry about itemizing because you're just taking the standard deduction. So it's kind of a win-win situation there. Common errors and omissions that I've seen, basically it just comes down to don't paper file or return. That's where I see the most mistakes happening, or people missing certain deductions or credits that they don't realize are available. But you might realize that they are available on, say, TurboTax, or if you're using a CPA, I can let you know. I always encourage people to do their own return. If it's simple enough, just use TurboTax. But if it's too complicated for you, you can always see someone like Benefits in Action to do it for free. And if that doesn't work, come see me. It's always best to do it on your own if you can. And then a couple more items I want to touch on is Colorado also allows a income exclusion on your return. So if you're a certain age, 55 and older, you're allowed a $20,000 deduction. It's actually $24,000 if you're age 65 and older. And practically that means that Colorado will reduce all your Social Security income you receive. And if you have pension or IRAs, then if you haven't hit your $20,000 or $24,000 limit, then that'll kick in and it'll be a deduction on your Colorado return. What on the flip side, what other people don't realize is that they could take out more from their IRA during the year and not have to pay state tax because of that exclusion. So if it makes sense, you should look into that. Something very important to do, because you don't want your in the end your qualified financial accounts like your IRAs, your 401ks, and so forth to be passed on to your heirs, and then they're going to have to end up paying taxes, because what happened with the Secure Act is they changed all those rules. You now have 10 years to withdraw an inherited account, and that could be pretty heavy on taxes if you're still working for another 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So now's the time to start thinking about your heirs down the road. Another thing is to maybe even look into doing Roth conversions. If you're in a lower tax bracket, take advantage of these lower tax brackets right now and start doing Roth conversions if they make sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, and that's okay, but you should look for that. How much more can you take out? For example, if your standard deduction marrying filing joint is 30,000, you can take out as much as 110,000 in 2023 and still be in the 12% tax bracket because you have that 30,000 standard deduction to take. So think about taking out a little bit more, maybe another 10,000 to stay in that 12% tax bracket. And I guess maybe the last thing I would like to touch on is I mentioned the Secure Act made some changes. One of those changes is that you can actually contribute to an IRA at any age. It doesn't matter any. Used to be a certain age where you couldn't contribute to an IRA anymore, but now it doesn't matter anymore. As long as you're working, you can contribute to an IRA, and that's important to think about if you're trying to keep your tax bracket low or your taxes down low. And then later on in retirement, you can take that out at a much lower tax bracket from what I've seen and from my experience. But if that was hopefully helpful enough, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. Is there any questions? I guess I'll look in the chat here.
Yeah, there are a couple there for you, Rick.
Yeah, you can still get a TABOR refund if you do an extension. There are certain limits as far as if you're not claiming a refund, you might not be able to get the TABOR refund. So I always find it important just to file by deadline if you can make that happen. And then I like the mother passing away. Can she still get the refund? She should be able to still get the refund, and you'll be able to claim that refund for her if she had passed away last year. So something to think about. That's just another little secret, probably. If she doesn't need to file, I would still file to get that TABOR refund. I mean, in reality, she probably lived in Colorado and paid taxes, and the TABOR refund is all it is just a refund of your taxes that you paid over the years that they're giving back to the Colorado residents. And then yeah, I'm not too familiar with the first home buyer credit, but you might want to seek a mortgage broker to get more understanding on that. And then it also complicates the situation down the road. If you have to pay back that home buyer's credit, it could be costly. So something to think about down the road if you're doing that as well. I have had some clients have to repay their credit. So your 1099, if you have not received that, I would seek out the Social Security Administration office to see if you can get a copy of that. It doesn't look like a tax form, but it is the SSA form, and usually you can just rip the bottom part of it and toss it in the trash. But that top portion will show what is taxable. And just keep in mind that your Social Security is not 100% taxable. The max they can do is 85%. But even then, if you don't have any other income sources, any of it might not be taxable, and that individual may not have to file. But again, I would seek out someone like Eric who can be able to help decide if that needs to be filed or not. There was a question in the beginning as far as bookkeeping software, if you can download your Wells Fargo checking account. I personally don't do bookkeeping, so I don't know the question to that or the answer, but that might be more in the works down the road if AI hasn't figured it out, or these other individuals out here who are trying to streamline bookkeeping services. So be on the watch for that. All right. Did I miss any questions? Anyone else see anything?
Well, there's a question about explaining the earned income credit.
Earned income credit. Yeah, that's just based on your income limits, and really I don't do a whole lot of those because my the individuals I work with have probably higher net worths, but in Eric's case, they can be able to get you earned income credit if you're in a lower tax bracket. You should be able to get that.
Eric, can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, definitely. So in a nutshell, the earned income credit is a refundable tax credit that's issued to certain low-wage workers. The amount you can get is based off of your income as well as how many dependents you have. And if you have dependents, the income limit is much higher than if you're a single individual with no dependents. When I say refundable credit, that means that even if you have no tax liability, this credit can put you into refund territory.
Okay, thank you.
You're
And then
welcome.
we have a question here about backdating estate filing to get the TABOR refund for previous years if you didn't have to file federally. In other words, can you do an amended Colorado return, I guess? Is that what that sounds like the question?
Yeah, that's a good question. You might have to look into that, but typically not. Once you're past the deadline, they start limiting that TABOR refund. Just because m- I'm just gonna, my opinion, the state has a budget and they gotta work with their budget, and so they gotta put the money back to use and figure that out. So usually you can't go back and get the TABOR refund. So something to think about. There was also another question about reverse mortgages. Since this is a tax seminar, we can talk about that later. But from a tax standpoint, a reverse mortgage is a return of equity on your home, and all of it is non-taxable to you. So something to definitely think about if you have a $500,000 home that you've been paying off for 30, 40 years, and now you're retired and you have very little in assets to withdraw from. A reverse mortgage is definitely something you should have in mind. Whether I have assets or not down the road, that is definitely something I'm going to be using down the road. You got to be 62 or older to take the equity out of your home, but hey, why not? That's just free money sitting there that you can use. And maybe you use it and it doesn't go to the kids, but at least you get to
Yeah.
enjoy your life.
Yeah. And including Rick, I mean, we have several reverse mortgage providers on the AgeWise Colorado website too. So
Yeah.
if you're thinking about that, check it out. It's good to have that conversation because you need to understand how it works. There is some upfront cost, but once you get past that, it can be a good thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I know from talking to a lot of other folks in the last couple of years that reverse mortgages, for a while kind of had a little bit of a adverse publicity, but and that's because there were a few unscrupulous providers out there. But I don't think that's the case any longer. So
No.
plenty of people who are interested in helping with those. And then question for Eric is, can you speak to the rent utilities property rebate?
Yeah, definitely. So the rent utilities property rebate is commonly referred to as PTC, sounds for property tax credit. And it's a bit of a misnomer because you don't have to own property to claim it. You can also be a renter. You just need to have low income, which for single individuals is defined as having all income taxable or non-taxable. That's less than about 18,000 a year. Married filing jointly, I think it goes up to about 24,000 a year. You have to meet that income requirement and then fall into one of four categories in order to claim the PTC refund. One, be age 65 or older. Two, be aged 58 or older and a surviving spouse. Three, have a disability and have received full disability payments for the year from Social Security or the state. And four, have a disability and have received full disability benefits from a private company for the year.
So I think
Yeah.
having been involved in some of this legislation in the past, that I came to realize that a lot of people are not even aware that this exists. So that's another thing to become better educated on. The state does do a fabulous job of advertising those things. Okay, do we have that? I think we've answered all the questions, almost. Let's see, I think there was one more in here that we may not have covered. Let's see. Barbara, she says, my daughter uses QuickBooks online and can download her checking account info, but she isn't banking at Wells Fargo. So it sounds like Wells Fargo has some kind of a special program that maybe other banks don't have in terms of helping with tax preparation. Have Eric, Rick, have either one of you heard of any of that with other banks?
Not on my end. I actually
Okay.
don't know.
This is Barbara. I would say, I would think that Wells Fargo would especially with something like QuickBooks, you would be able to download to them because they are such a large institution and QuickBooks is used so much by lay people. I don't know about professionals.
I'll step in and say my 2 cents is just be careful how things flow in because they won't go in the categories you may not want them in. And that might look a little messy on the return. Personally, I just think it's best if you're a small business or have a rental, just track everything on a spreadsheet. And that's just the best way, the cleanest way to make it work.
Yeah, it's gotten very expensive. I think QuickBooks Online runs from about $15 or $20 a month to probably 100 or more, depending on all of the add-ons that you need or want.
I'm going to turn my video back on here for a moment and talk to you folks just a little bit more about age-wise Colorado and a little help. So first, I'd like to ask Tanya. Tanya, you're still with us, right? Okay. Can you speak a little bit about a little help, please?
I certainly can. Thank you. And thank you for this partnership, Bob. This is going to be great, I think, and we do have more planned. For those of you who are not familiar with A Little Help, we are a completely volunteer-based organization that does help older adults, as this slide says, thrive in their homes. Our volunteers do things from providing rides to folks, to grocery store runs, running errands, pharmacy runs, to doctor's appointments, hair appointments. We have volunteers, a lot of group volunteers, which we love, that do a lot of yard work, and families who provide yard work. We have a special day in the fall called Service Saturday, where we love to have all generations come out and provide and help do yard work like raking, trimming, washing windows. And then we all have a lot of volunteers who just do what we call kind of visits and welcomes to our folks. So knowing that, as we are all aging, family starts to move away, we do like to make sure that they still feel connected to their community and to their neighborhood. So our volunteers maybe will go for walks or just come over and make a visit, take them for coffee, just ring and see how they're doing. And that's really what A Little Help is about, is just really making sure that as we age and as we are all aging, that we do still continue to feel connected to our community and our neighborhood and don't feel isolated. And our volunteers help us do that.
Okay. Thanks, Tanya.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just a little bit more about age-wise Colorado too. We're here to serve aging Coloradans and caregivers of today and tomorrow as well. So we're the connecting point between roughly 3 million Coloradans who are over the age of 40 and about 3,000 service providers and so on. So we provide a lot of free information on our website, and it's reliable. And we do these educational events like today's webinar, usually a couple times a month. And as Tanya said, this is the first one we've done jointly with a little help, but we're going to be doing more of that. And I think it's a great way to partner with A Little Help. So that's a little bit more about us. And do we have any other questions of any of our panelists or of myself, Barbara, Tanya? No? I'm just trying to see if I had any other questions for our tax folks, but not finding any at the moment. I would ask, though, that because this is kind of a big deal, that maybe you reiterate what you said earlier about the TABOR refund and the necessity of filing a tax return in order to get that, even though you may not need to file a tax return otherwise. So one more time, because it's worth emphasizing.
Yeah,
Rick?
I'll just mention, everyone's getting the TABOR refund if you have to file. So again, it's $800 per person, $1,600 jointly. For example, I did a joint return for a married couple, and then they asked me to do their daughters. She is now 18 as of last year, and she was getting her money back from what she had withheld on her W-2, but she owed no taxes because she was under the standard deduction. And because she was filing, she had to file a tax return for Colorado. Colorado said, okay, well, we don't owe you anything, but you're going to get the TABOR refund. So something to keep in mind that you can get the refund still, whether you're 18 and older or if mom or dad passed away last year.
Eric, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I agree with all of that. The only thing I would add is that there are actually two ways to get to TABOR. One is filing your taxes. If you're one of those people who falls under the property tax credit rent rebate, that will also get you to TABOR land.
Wait, I'm gonna ask, I just want to reiterate, because I do have children who are 18 and 20. So you did say that they should file no matter what. If they have any W-2 because of the TABOR.
Yeah, because some people will say it's not worth filing a refund or to get
Right.
the spend $100, $200 to file the return just to get $50 back. But in this case, you should be able to get the TABOR refund of $800.
Great, thank you.
And then we have one more question here from Sonny Weber. Is it okay to try to file on your own if you closed a corporation in June of last year, I assume, and need to do a 940 for the final 6 months?
Yeah, you should always file a final return. When you file a return, there's always a button that says, hey, this is a final return. And then that way it closes out the LLC, the business name. The business name is more with the state, but with the EIN and everything else.
And I'd like to add, just on one other point, and that is many of you saw your real estate your property taxes go up. I personally, I've seen that. So do you have any special advice for folks who had a significant increase in their property taxes, and maybe just in terms of taking a really hard look at the potential for itemized deductions?
Yeah, I mean, you should, if your property doubled like mine did, it might make sense to start itemizing again because that limit went up. But keep in mind, state and local taxes are limited to 10,000 nowadays. Even though the standard deduction went up, they limited state and local taxes and property tax, whatnot, up to 10,000. So, your New Yorkers or your Chicago residents who are paying 13,000 in property taxes, they're only capped at 10. And so that's an issue too, is if you're able to not itemize before, maybe you're still not able to because of that $10,000 cap.
Might you want to also mention the homestead exemption? If some of our attendees don't know about that?
You're talking about this senior credit for property taxes on if you've
Right.
lived in your home for
If
10
you're
years or
over-
more.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you're over 65 and have lived in your home for 10 years.
Yeah, that's something Eric and I wouldn't like do on a tax return, but that's something I try to bring up with my clients. If they're a certain age, I try to tell them like, hey, if you've been in your home long enough, make sure you're taking advantage of the reduction that Colorado allows you to take on property taxes, which it could be pretty significant. So that's something important to keep in mind.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and thanks to Eric and Rick and Tanya for being here, and Barbara, thank you. And we have this recorded. We'll get it posted on our website pretty soon. And Tanya, do you plan to post any of these recordings on your site?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
as soon as we have that, Bob, we will put those also on our YouTube, a little help as well.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thanks again, folks. Have a good day.
Thank you.